many people believe that our dating rituals, our courting rituals, are all about responding to that neurological push and pull. We want to let the person know we're liking them and maybe open to a relationship, but at the same time, we want to tell the person, well, I could live without you. When I met my wife, Cindy, I fell in love with her on the spot. I didn't even know her last name, and I blurted out to her, I think I love you. And she said, I think I love you too. And we ran from each other. We were just horrified. It was like the most powerful thing that ever happened to me. But I was also scared. What if she comes to her senses and, you know, turns out she really doesn't feel strongly about me like I feel about her? So the first several times we got together, in our entire lives together, I was eating garlic. I was in this eat cloves of garlic, boost your immune system sort of phase of my life. As I chew big cloves of it, it's supposed to boost your immunity, you know, I thought. And I'd come see her, and she'd go, baby, what is that smell? And I'd say, it's garlic, it's good for your immune system. If you can't deal with it, well, it's just not going to work between the two of us, you know, something like that. She goes, baby, I don't care, it just stinks. You just stink, you know. But I look back on that, and as silly as it seems, I think part of me was just trying to say, look, I'm feeling really strongly about you, but if you aren't feeling strongly about me, I'm going to be okay, right? A man named David Brooks, in his book, The Social Animal, describes all of those things we do when we're meeting new people, all the sort of dances we do with each other. We're like peacocks, waving our feathers and posturing, all from that the perspective of evolutionary biology, that it's all programmed around this social brain. It's fascinating. But some people, they become relationship resistant. If you fail in relationship over and over again, after a while, it's very hard to get up the confidence you need to open yourself up to another possibility. I mean, a question David Hinsberger asks people when he speaks is, how many of you, if you found out your partner in life was having an affair on you, how many of you could forgive your partner? Raise your hands. And in this room, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5 hands. And I have no doubt you could. But now to those people, just raise your hand. If you could forgive your partner, but could you do it non-contingentally, no strings attached? And hands go up. But in a room of, I don't know how many people are here, Bev. Was it 100 people? Sorry? 160. Wow. But out of 160 people, notice only 4 or 5 hands go up. In short, you get your heart broken. Most of us cannot open our heart up again. And many of you, I'm sure you're like me, you've had your heart broken before, and you know how hard it is for a while to let yourself be available to the potential for relationships. We get our heart broken once, we shut down. Imagine what it would be like if you got your heart broken hundreds of times, if not thousands of times, which is often the story for many people who use our services, depend on us. What's amazing is that people who have had their heart broken hundreds, if not thousands of times, can even greet us hello, let alone, develop friendships. But what we say about people that are closed off to relationships, even seem to sabotage relationships, is that they become relationship resistant. And they actually need relationships more than people who are not relationship resistant, not less. We'll say this, a similar kind of thing about people who experience autism. Like, what about people with autism? This person I know never wants to spend time with people and never wants to be around people. He'd prefer to be alone. It ain't true. It ain't true. What we know is that biologically we need relationship. We can't live without it. In fact, it's now called a biological imperative. That's a term biologists give to any behavior that is absolutely critical for the survival of the individual or the species. It's a biological imperative. To give you some idea of how important a biological imperative is, water is one for us, oxygen is another, food is another. And now, in that same category, they put the need for social connection. In short, we couldn't do without it any more than we can do without lungs or a digestive system that processes food for us. If you are a person who experiences autism and your central nervous system is different than a lot of people's, It ain't overriding this very basic biology any more than you don't need, for some reason you don't need lungs anymore. Well, people with autism, they don't need to really process oxygen. They're so much different than us. It's that basic. What may happen to people is that they become relationship resistant because they've lacked a significant amount of self-confidence, and that's what I'm going to talk about the very next thing. That they need relationships more, not less than anybody else. I believe that people, and many of you who know much more about this than I do, I'm sure, we're working with people who are elderly who might experience things like Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, whatever might be going on. There's a significant amount of research that says somebody showing up and just spending time with a person and even going through aspects of a person's story can be enormously helpful for people. And I know sometimes there's reasons why that's not helpful, but the bottom line, having somebody sit with you is enormously reduces symptoms in people for all kinds of reasons. One famous study, it was done in California. There were 2 high-rise apartments, and they were both made at exactly the same time by the same contractor using exactly the same materials. And everybody that lived them randomly went to one of the other buildings. They were all elderly people, and they all accessed the same healthcare system. So some scientists became intrigued by this. They thought, boy, this is a really good time to study some things. And what they found when they looked closely was that one group of people living in one of the buildings was significantly healthier than the other. Another way of saying it is one of the groups of people in the other building were significantly sicker, less well than the other. And they wondered why. They could eliminate right off the get-go some of the common reasons why that people have different access to health care and are getting less good preventative care, all of those things. But that wasn't true here because they were all getting health care from the same health care system. They wondered, they could eliminate immediately from consideration the idea that it was toxicity in the materials used to build the buildings. That couldn't be true because they were both made by the same contractor using exactly the same materials. And they looked and looked and looked, and they couldn't figure out why is one building sicker than the other. There was random presentation. Again, people came to wherever they were randomly. It wasn't like the healthy people went to one building and let's send the sick people to another building. It wasn't like that at all. You know what they found out? The building that was healthy, the people were healthier. Every Saturday morning, they had a little farmer's market happen in the lobby where local growers would come and sell things, and people who lived there might sell crafts. And they believe it's the presence of that social network that had been going on for years that caused significant improvements in people's health. It's just that basic. You want social beings to be healthy. You got to get them connected to other social beings. A study at Duke University recently, what they were finding is that people, especially elderly people, were not likely to comply with the recommendations from the doctor. Doctor would give them some medicine to take maybe, and they would take it for a little while but stop taking it after a while, or forget to, or whatever it might be. You know what they did? They hired some people who were volunteers, people who were retired themselves, and they gave them a pad of paper with some telephone numbers and said, well, you call up Maria and just ask her if she's taking her medicine, how she's doing. She loves God. You talk to her about anything you want to talk to her. Then would you call up Adam and ask him how he's doing, and is he changing the bandages on that sore every day? And then would you call it was just a list of people to call, and these people formed relationships with folks on the other end of the table, on the other end of the phone, and guess what? The healthcare outcomes for this group of people in this healthcare system rose dramatically, improved dramatically. And it was just as simple as someone checking in on you, not only to remind you, but checking in socially with you. When you're isolated, the likelihood of you forgetting these things and not doing these things goes up dramatically. Low-tech, low-cost intervention that dramatically improve the healthcare results of people in this system. Reduced costs dramatically to this system because somebody just called up and say, how's your garden? How you doing? Did you remember taking medicine? Think about that just for a second. It's profoundly important. A study of people with the HIV virus found that when they got medications to help reduce the symptoms of the HIV virus to people in, I believe it was Jamaica, they were significantly more likely to take their medicine as prescribed than people who lived in San Francisco. And you know, when they went and studied it, they found out it's because the people in Jamaica all had strong social network. People reminded them, take your medicine. When they created a social support network in San Francisco for people who had the virus, they got dramatic improvement in the results there as well. And what the researchers say is it isn't just that people took the medicine which helped, which of course is true, it's the social connection significantly boosts people's immunity and health outcomes.